Yes. In my last demo class, whatever we have discussed, let me just give you some brief overview of it. Then we'll continue with our class.
Okay.
File open. Yesterday was the first session. Yesterday it was a demo class. Today is our second session. Yesterday, these all things we covered. Yesterday's class. I'm talking about yesterday's class. Yeah. You can collect the video from the management of yesterday's class so that you can go through whatever I have discussed in my last session. Yesterday, you can see here, Introduction to RDBMS. And even in this, I listed 4 points. In that 4 points, every point we found few things we have not discussed anything. Like there is no, yesterday we didn't discuss anything about constraints. Here I didn't talk anything about CORDS rules. This is only theory, presentation of data in 2-dimensional format, but how and all we don't know. And normalization. This also theory. We didn't study anything. Yesterday, I even started with introduction to SQL Server and I covered 2 points in it. And in the 2 points, first point I said, it is a product from Microsoft introduced in the year 1989 as SQL Server 1.0 version. That is first point. Second point, it provides 2 ways to communicate with the SQL Server, 2 ways communication. One way is wizard based, which is GUI, graphical user interface, which is user friendly. And second is script based, which is CUI, character user interface, and it is syntax based. It is what? Syntax based. Yesterday, 2 points. We listed 2 points. Nothing else. Yeah. Today, we'll continue with the next part. Yes, Sushovan, can you hear me? Yeah, okay, fine. Right. So hope you understood me what I said, right? Yesterday's class. That's what we have, introduction of RDBMS, and we started with introduction to SQL Server. Now we are going continuation to it. And here we learn the third point of SQL Server. It is used as backend. Yes. SQL Server is always used as what? Backend. Okay. And one more interesting thing in this is, especially from this version, from SQL Server 2005 and later, whatever the versions Microsoft has introduced, versions, releases, anything you can say, releases. Okay, versions, releases, your wish. And later releases are what they are? ORDBMS. What are they all? ORDBMS. What is ORDBMS? Object R. That is Relational Database Management Systems, ORDBMS. From which version it has become? From which release it is? 2005. From 2005. Before 2005, we used to have SQL Server 2000, before 2005. Then we used to have, before it, we used to have SQL Server. Yes, 6.0 SQL Server. Different versions, I'm just saying. SQL Server 4.1, SQL Server 3.0, SQL Server 2.0. Yes, those all were identified by versions. Right? And what is the other thing you find? What is the other thing? Exactly from 2005 release, it has become what? ORDBMS. Fifth important point is SQL Server is client server technology. Yes. Now for us, for us, since we are going to install SQL Server software in our laptop, and it is a single laptop, so you could see that that system in which you have installed SQL Server, that itself will be client and that itself will be server for us. Single laptop, I'm saying. Itself is a client, itself is a server. SQL Server is, what did you say? Client server technology. And another point you learn is SQL Server is associated with different servers. How many servers? Answer: 4 servers you'll have. Four servers. SQL Server consists of how many? 4 servers. From that 4 servers, for developers, only 1 server is enough. Only 1 server. Right? And with different servers, of which for development only database server is used. Database server is used. Yes. What other servers you have? One is called integration server. One is called reporting server. One is called analysis server. Total 4 servers will be there, that is provided by SQL Server. What are the servers SQL Server provides? Database server, integration server, reporting server, analysis server. Integration server, reporting server, analysis server will be a requirement for BI developers, people who work on business intelligence. For them, it is needed. For them. People who work on business intelligence, for them, it is needed. Yes. And for developers, as well as for administrators. For developers and for DBS, database administrators, 1 database server is enough. We don't need to have multiple, or we don't need to have other servers. Other servers are required by whom? BI developers, business intelligence developers. Okay, 7th point. Remember, till SQL Server 2016 release. Version, remember. SQL Server 2016, I'm saying. Till SQL Server 2016 release, it can be installed only on Windows OS. Yes. Only on Windows OS. If you have Unix, if you have Linux operating system, no, SQL Server cannot be installed on them. SQL Server cannot be installed on them. Only on Windows OS you can install. Yeah. Right. Let me show you the client server technology picture representation of it so that you can understand how it is done till 2016 and what we have for installation after 2016. So for that, already in our batch of regular batch, I have completed that picture. The same thing I'll open and show you what exactly the story we have for, yeah. 2 p.m. Client server. Yes. This will be best for you to understand. First, left side part you understand. Left side. Client and server technology in a standalone or network environment. Standalone or network. Standalone is single machine. Single machine. If it is single machine and if you have installed SQL server, here I clearly mentioned that machine itself is client and that machine itself is server. It's not only for me, it's for all of us. For all of us, for all of us. If any of you, like if all of you installed, SQL server software in your laptops, 100%, that laptop in which you have installed will work you as client, will work you as what? Server. Yes. And second thing I'll say, what? Till 2016, whenever we used to install SQL Server software, which OS you should have? Windows OS. Any Windows OS. Which Windows? Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10, Windows 11, any OS, any OS. And you can directly install SQL Server software on it. SQL Server software you can install on it. Yes. Acha, what about network? What about network environment? What will happen in a network environment? If you are working with SQL Server till SQL Server 2016, if you are installing it in a network environment, so remember, in a server machine, you'll have one separate system, you'll have one separate machine that would act as server machine. And in that server machine, compulsory, you should have Windows Server OS. Which Windows Server OS? Windows 2000 Server OS, Windows 2003 Server OS, Windows 2008 Server OS, but it should be Windows Server OS. And on that Windows Server OS, you are going to install SQL Server software. Yes. You are going to install what? SQL Server software. And once you install software in server machine, remember, in clients machines, you don't need to install SQL Server again. You don't need to install. Then what do you install? Only tool you install. Only tool. From the tool, they can communicate with server, and from there, they can communicate with SQL server, and from there, they can communicate with database. I said 3 points. 3 points I said. Client can first communicate. This is what I said. Client will communicate through this tool, first to server machine. And then from here, it will communicate with SQL Server software. From SQL Server software, it will communicate to database. And on database, you are going to do operations. And clients can be on which OS? Clients. Till 2016, clients can be on any operating system. Clients can be on any OS. Server should be purely on Windows Server OS, but clients can be on any OS. One client can be on Windows 10, one client can be on Windows 11, one client can be on Linux, one client can be on Unix. Clients can be on any OS. And what clients will have? Only tool. They don't have SQL Server software in their machines. Yeah. Client 1 is working with Windows 10 OS. Client 2 is working on Linux OS. Client 3 is working on Windows 11 OS. Client 4 is working on Unix OS. And everyone has tool, not SQL Server software. Yes, this is till 2016. 2017, Microsoft has one major breakthrough. Microsoft has one major breakthrough. And what is it? This is what you notice. From SQL Server 2017 release, Microsoft has made available SQL Server software either on Windows OS or on Linux OS. Yes, it means now you can install SQL Server software even on Linux operating system. Same standalone. This is standalone, single system. So that itself is client and that itself is server. Okay. Network, you see, from SQL Server 2017, network. And what do you see in the network environment of SQL Server? And you can see here what from SQL Server 2017, that is a network environment, you can find server machine. Yes. Here, server machine. In server machine, what do we have? Yes, either you should have Windows Server OS or you should have Linux Server OS. Windows Server OS or Linux Server OS. And on that, what do you install? SQL Server software. And clients, you see, clients can also be on any platform. Clients will never change. Clients, one can be on Windows 10, one can be on Windows 11, one can be on Linux, one can be on Windows 10, one can be on Unix. This is from 2017, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, whatever the next releases Microsoft has made for SQL Server, all those can be on Linux server as well. Till 2016, no Linux, no. SQL Server cannot be installed on Linux. From 17 onwards, yes, you can install on Windows also. You can install on Linux also. Yeah, this is your client server environment or client server technology for SQL Server. Yeah, anything else that you want to ask me on this? Go ahead, please. If not, I'll continue with my next part. For all of you, I'm saying, for all of you.
Yeah, sir, only Linux is added from 2017, no
yes,
Unix?
Exactly. From 2017, they made it even on Linux.
Okay, no Unix.
16 okay. Till 16, no Linux. It was only on Windows.
Okay.
Yes, Lavanya, is this clear for you? Yeah. Okay, fine. Naresh V. Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Did you understand this?
Yeah, just joined a little bit late, but.
Okay, no problem. Actually, this is a second session, Naresh.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Yesterday we completed, introduction to RDBMS and some basic concepts related with database and file system comparison, fundamentals, very fundamentals. You just, if today's session you feel you're comfortable, you could make out easily, you can talk to management. They'll share yesterday's video with you so that you can go through that video as well.
Okay, sir. Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right. Okay. Santosh K.
Yes, sir, I understood.
Yeah, you're clear, Santosh. Do you understand this?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, fine. Yeah, Sushovan.
Yes, sir. Clear, sir.
Okay, that's fine then. Right. Now, that was about client server technology. And I tried to figure out through refer to .png file. Okay, and one more part. As far as SQL Server is concerned, and into which our course content is concerned, remember, we are going to study these things in our SQL Server. What it is? Yes, these are the topics that will be covered in our course content. What it is? Microsoft has made SQL Server available with two modules. One is SQL, which is called structured query language, and second is called T-SQL, that is called transact SQL. Transact SQL, T-SQL. SQL and T-SQL. And T-SQL deals with coding or programming. T-SQL deals with what? Coding or programming. And this SQL and T-SQL both will be covered under backend. Both are covered as a backend. And one more module will also be there. I didn't talk because that is not related to our course content. Here, one more module will come. 3 modules. That is BI. That is business intelligence, which is something related with called data warehouse. DWH. Data warehouse. 3 modules. But I didn't talk about that business intelligence because that's not related to our course content. And under SQL, I said that we are going to study this SQL, structured query language, dividing it into 2 parts, sublanguages and SQL objects. Sublanguages में those things I'm going to discuss. Data query language, or you call data retrieval language, data manipulation language, transaction control language, data definition language, data control language, data query language or data retrieval language, data manipulation language, transaction control language, data definition language, and data control language. These are all sub-languages. And under SQL objects, we find a list. SQL objects में tables, constraints, views, synonyms, sequences, indices. Indices is a plural of index. And schemas. These all comes under category of SQL objects. Tables. Tables are of types. We have types of tables. When we study tables on the day, I'll explain you. What tables we find them? One is called system tables. One is called user created tables. One is called temporary tables. One is called magic tables. One is called table variables. 4-5 types of tables we will be discussing with practicals. Yeah. And when it comes to constraints, constraints topic, when I start on that, I'll explain. Yes, what do you learn? Constraints are of types. Domain integrity constraints, one category. Entity integrity constraints, one category. And then Referential integrity constraint is another category that we are going to study. Yes. Domain integrity constraints, entity integrity constraints, referential integrity constraints. 3 types. And when it comes to views, views में types we will study, types of views we will study when I start that topic. What are they? One is called simple views, one category. One category is called what? Simple views. And one more category that they call as check option views. Then we have something called complex views. Then we have something called encrypted views. Then we have something called schema binded views. Then we have something called indexed views. These all will be covered as a part of views. As a part of views. When it comes to synonyms, no classification we have in synonyms, no classification we have in what? Sequences. But when it comes to indices, here we will learn these all types of indexes. What is it? One is called clustered index. One is called non-clustered index. One is called as index. Types of indexes: clustered index, non-clustered index, unique index. These are the things that we are going to discuss, yeah, as a part. Schemas will be two types of schemas we'll study: built-in schemas and customized schemas. Built-in schemas and customized schemas. Once we are done with this total SQL part, then we will start T-SQL, that is called transact SQL. T-SQL, transact SQL. This is related with coding. This is related with programming. And in that, two types of programming support which we are going to learn. One is called anonymous or unnamed blocks that are stored in buffer. Second is stored or named blocks stored in database. Under anonymous block, we have basic programming, exception handling, cursors. 3 types we are going to study. And under stored block programming, we learn about stored procedures, stored functions, stored triggers. 3 types. And the third programming part, which is added in SQL Server, that is called CLR integration, but it is exclusively for .NET developers. It means a person who has knowledge of .NET can understand CLR integration. Yes. CLR integration, we got all those combinations. CLR stored procedures, CLR stored functions, CLR stored triggers. Combination. What is CLR? That is called Common Language Runtime. Yeah. These are the topics that we are going to discuss in our SQL Server. I don't say exactly the same. No, lot of other things are there as subtopics, subtopics. Those things I didn't list here. Only overview of what is important in our syllabus, what is important for us to discuss in SQL Server. Those things I just try to frame through this picture. Okay, and keeping this topics of SQL Server in view, let us come with the introduction of our first topic, that is called SQL. Chalo, let's go and learn introduction. Here, what was the topic I've shown you now? Topics of SQL Server. This also I have referred to .png file. Yes. Yeah. Now we are going to learn. Now we are going to learn first about introduction to yeah. What we are going to learn now? Introduction to SQL, that is structured query language. Yes. Now in this introduction to SQL, let's make all the important points. After that, slowly we'll go to next part of it. What is it here? Define SQL. Define SQL. And what do you learn here? SQL. And whenever you have been asked to define SQL, you're not going to expand the word as structured query language. They're asking you definition. So they're asking you the working process. And here we learn SQL is a language used to communicate with database. This is the definition of SQL. Language used to communicate with what? Database. And second thing also, what? History, you can say history. Initially, communication to database was made through a language called Square. This is the first language introduced. This is the first language introduced to communicate with database. And name of the language is Square. S, specifications. QU, query. A, as. R, relational. E, expressions. Yes. This was the first language introduced to communicate with database. Square language. And then we find, after introducing the Square language, they found n number of problems with that language. Commands were represented with symbols. Syntaxes were not correct. Compilation techniques were not clear. Performance was not that good. Confusion it used to create. Then they introduced. What? Square is modified and a new language is introduced called SQL. S, structured. E, English. QUE, query language. Square is modified and a new language is introduced called what? SQL, structured English query language. Yes. And then what happened is that SQL language was there. No? So that SQL language, that word SQL has been renamed. SQL has been renamed to SQL, called structured query language, by dropping all vowels from it. Yes. EUE, they removed all vowels, and the word SQL has come into existence. This total is a kind of history of SQL. And another interesting thing what you study is, remember, SQL is a product of IBM. Yes. SQL language has been developed by IBM. It is a product of IBM. Yes. And when IBM has developed SQL language, many companies have approached IBM. Many companies like Microsoft approached IBM, Oracle Corporation approached IBM, Teradata Company approached IBM, Sun Microsystems Company approached IBM, Sybase International, one company is there, that has approached IBM. And by approaching IBM, what they did, what that companies have done, they purchased from IBM rights they purchased. They purchased what? Rights. And when they purchased rights, what did they do? They purchased rights to use SQL language. To use what? SQL language in their products. So when they purchased rights from IBM to use SQL language in their products, which means they are fully authorized to make changes in the software. Yes. So Microsoft has made changes in SQL, and Microsoft has made SQL available according to their requirement. Sun Microsystems has made SQL available according to their requirements. Oracle Corporation has used SQL and they made SQL available in their product according to their standards. Yeah. And everyone is using, you can say, at least 90% of SQL is same for everyone. 10% changes may be there either in the command or changes may be there in syntax. So you can say SQL is a product of IBM, later used by different companies, and they made SQL available in their products according to their standards. Yes, according to their standards. And these companies have made what? SQL available. Yeah, MySQL also uses SQL language. Yes, MySQL. MySQL is a product of Sun Microsystems initially. Later, that Sun Microsystems, now it is owned by Oracle Corporation. So MySQL versions are now being released by Oracle Corporation. Previously, it was of Sun Microsystems. Now it is owned by Oracle Corporation. Everywhere, all these. Shall I give you softwares list? Yeah. Oracle, SQL Server, MySQL, Sybase, Teradata. You understand? These all softwares. Everyone has. Yeah. Do we have SQL in Oracle? Yes. Do we have SQL in SQL Server? Yes. Do we have SQL in Sybase? MySQL? Yes. Do you have SQL in Sybase? Yes. Do you have SQL in Teradata? Yes. Everywhere we have SQL. What changes? Then? Minor changes in syntax, minor changes in commands. Some say some command, some say some command, but command will be doing same task, but command will be different to use. That is the reason, at least after seeing the picture. Yeah, queries also same. Queries, no doubt, queries. I said no, that word I said no. 80% same, I said that sentence, right? 80%. 80 meaning 90% same, you say, no problem. 90% same. 10% changes. What changes? Slight changes. That is the reason. If you are writing one query in SQL Server, the same query will work in Oracle, the same query will work in MySQL, the same query works in Sybase, the same query works in Teradata. Yeah, I was about to say this point. What I was about to say, please listen carefully. Then if you still feel you're not comfortable in this, in receiving this point, you can unmute yourself and can raise your queries. My point is, if you learn SQL language thoroughly, perfectly, with proper implementation in SQL Server, if you have properly learned with proper implementation of SQL language in SQL Server, which means you are done with SQL in all database software. You're done. You're done with SQL in Oracle. You're done with SQL in MySQL. You're done with SQL in Sybase. You're done with SQL even in Teradata. One, you be perfect. Be perfect in one. It means rest of all, you're done. Rest of all, you're perfect. Right? Are you all clear with this? Lavanya, did you get my point? Thoroughly you have to practice SQL language. Clearly you practice in one software. Means you are done. We are using SQL Server. We are using SQL Server. Minor changes are there from one software to other software. Yeah, if MySQL you're using Workbench also, no problem, perfectly possible. Or let it be, MySQL will be there. You install SQL Server also. What is wrong in it? I have all softwares in my machine as well. I have this SQL Server. This is SQL Server I have. SQL Server. Yes. And now I'll show you. One second. Now, second part. I have Oracle in my machine. SQL Plus. I have Oracle also. I can install MySQL also. I didn't install, but I can install MySQL also. Yes, I can have all softwares. Now you don't want to install SQL Server, you want to practice. Yeah, that I'll guide you. Yeah. I'll guide you. I myself will share the software also, no problem. Software I will share. Installation will have one session. Installation will have one session for installation. Yes, we will. Okay, no problem. Next. Yeah, fourth point I'm saying. SQL is a product of IBM, later used by whom? Different companies. And they made SQL available. They made SQL available according to their what? Standards. Okay. Now we say SQL is called Common Database Language. Why? Since it gets understood by every RDBMS. That is the reason it is called Common Database Language. One more point. SQL is called non-procedural language. Then SQL is called command-based language. SQL is called command-based language. Yeah, and most important, SQL is case insensitive language. Yeah, uppercase, lowercase, mixed case, any way you write, database understands it. Case insensitive language. And then SQL consists of following sub-languages. And in that, I will make a list now. I will make a list. What it is? A, data query or retrieval language, that is called DQL, DRL. And here you learn about select command. Select command. After completion of select command, we will start data manipulation language, that is called DML. Here you learn insert, update, delete, merge. Merge, 4 commands. After that, we learn about transaction control language, that is called TCL. From here, subject slightly becomes logical. From here. So you should know now what is a transaction. Then you should know what is implicit transaction, what is explicit transaction, what is isolated transaction, what is called how a transaction works. So for transaction working, you should know acid properties. Transaction works with acid properties, ACID. Atomicity, consistency, isolation, durability. Yeah. So a lot of things are there to study at that topic. Transaction control language. And we learn here commit, rollback, save tran, begin tran. Yes. After that, I take up data definition language, that is called DDL. And here you learn how to create, how to alter, how to drop. What do you create? What do you alter? What do you drop? Answer: objects. Objects. Because create will create, table create will create, view create will create, synonym create will create, sequence create will create, procedure create will create, function create will create, trigger create. That is the reason. Create, alter, drop, objects you say. Don't say tables. Drop. And then another command, we have something to study called truncate. After DDL, we go with the data control language, that is for DCL. Here we learn grant, revoke, deny. Yes. And make sure, very clear, I am going to teach SQL language exactly following the same sequence. Exactly following the same sequence. Same sequence, no change, nothing. Exactly the same pattern I'm going to follow. This is my teaching methodology. I follow this. And remember, in these 5 languages, DQL is the only one which is very lengthy, almost you can say that we are going to study data query language, that is about select command, for around 4 weeks. 4 weeks, I'll talk only about DQL. Not exactly 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks. Approximate, I said, approximate. 3 to 3.5 weeks, we will study only about select command. It is that vast, it is that big to learn. It has that much to practice, that much to understand. Interviewer, even when conducts interviews, when you start attending interviews on SQL Server, you definitely will experience that whenever they conduct, technical round on SQL Server, you can find that maximum questions will be asked based on select command. Based on select command. They'll ask you to write this query. They'll ask you to write that query. They'll ask you to work with, self join. They'll ask you to work with equi-join. These all will be part of select command. And remaining languages are the DML, TCL, DDL, DCL. Hardly 10 days, 12 days, we will end up the remaining. Select is the only one which is lengthy. The remaining are hardly, you can say around 10 days, 12 days. We can wind up DML, TCL, DDL. DML, 2 days. TCL, 1 day. 1 day, 2 days. DDL, around, say, for example, 5-6 days. DCL, 1 or 2 days. Bas, that's it. DQL will go for 3.5 weeks. Lengthy topic, lengthy. Lot of logical things are there to study in it. This is my pattern of teaching. Please make sure clearly on this. This is what my experience says, that I already said you, right? Yesterday in my demo class, I said you, this is not my first, second time I'm teaching. I'm teaching SQL Server from past 15 years. My total experience in training, I said that it's 21 years I'm into training. I'm not only I take this, online or offline sessions on SQL Server, I'm a corporate trainer as well for SQL Server. So the course content, whatever I have designed, for our SQL Server, this is after identifying, when I go to corporate training to different companies, what that companies asks me to include for their employees to get trained. According to that only, I have prepared my course content, so that for all it will be benefited. This is the introduction part of SQL. First topic of our course content. Yeah. Everyone is comfortable. And from one person to another person, from one faculty to other faculty, teaching methodology changes. In some faculties, first they'll teach DDL, then they will teach DML, then they will teach TCL, then they will teach DQL. I don't feel that the best way to learn the subject in that way. I feel the best is to learn this pattern, what I listed. So I follow this technique or this process to teach you complete SQL language. Okay, everyone. Was this clear for you? Everyone.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Sai? Right. Okay, Sai. Right. Okay, Santosh. That's fine. Naresh, what about you? You have any questions, Naresh?
No.
Lavanya? Santosh? Acha, okay. Sushovan? Okay, Lavanya. Okay, Sushovan. Right. Naresh, what about you, Naresh?
Clear, sir.
Clear? Okay, chalo, right.
Yeah.
Yes. Tomorrow we'll discuss something related with features of SQL Server. Not latest or all features, general features that are available in SQL Server. We'll talk on that. features of SQL Server. Generalized features. They are available right from first version till latest version. So those features I list out. Okay. And after completion of these features of SQL Server, then I'll take you to the next topic that is about something called editions of SQL Server. Editions of SQL Server. Then types of servers in SQL Server. Yesterday I said you when I started my demo class, very clearly I said you that whatever the topics which we are going to learn, they become prerequisite to start practicals. So until as you're not aware of these things, it would be difficult for you to understand practicals. Okay? All right. In tables, we subparts are there, sir. Yeah, you want to you are asking me, do we have partitions in tables? Is it that you're asking me? Or you're asking me that you have classification in tables? What is your exact query? Then accordingly, I'll answer it. Both points also, it's fine for me. Yeah, everything will discuss. The way the session is going on, same way the things will go. Everything. Syntax based. Yeah, I don't take my classification. I said no. Tables classification. 5 types, I said. Five types. One is system tables, I said. Second is user-defined tables. Third, I said temporary tables. Fourth, I said magic tables. Fifth, I said table variables. 5 types are there. Okay, Lavanya? Yeah, Sushovan, yes, we will create syntax based only. I won't make you work with SQL Server through Wizard. No. Don't. You should not make habit of working with SQL Server on will. After joining into company, then you can make. You can make use of Wizard. But till you interview will not be on Wizard process. No one will ask you like where to click, when, what to click, what are the options to click. No one will ask you, no one will remember also. It's highly impossible. So it is best interview will be based on syntax based. Okay, Sushovan? So I'm not saying that only syntax based. No, practice more on syntax based. I mean, wizard based also I'll cover, but practice more on syntax based. Interview could be on syntax based. Okay, Sushovan? No, okay, chalo, right. Bye, everyone. See you tomorrow. We'll stop this session here now.
Thank you, sir.
Right.